So I already mentioned this idea that different structures, depending on their depth, gonna have a different speed of movement, which creates this relative opposite movement of structures. But not only this, these muscles are not only layered like on this diagram next to each other in the same plane, they also, some of them are more flat, some of them are more round. We have different shapes of muscles. There are triangle muscles, there are fusiform muscles, there are pinnet muscles, there are quadrate muscles. So each of those shapes of the muscles are going to create a different biomechanical movement. So flat muscles like quadrate muscles or triangular muscles gonna move more like a sliding surfaces. And when they're gonna get pulled, they're gonna slide that flat surface on top of the structures that are below. And then there are the round structures like our vasti muscles, vastus medialis, vastus lateralis. Those have oblique fibers. They are very bulgy. So when we move, they're going to do this rolling movement. They're gonna need to roll along their long axis. And there are muscles like rectus femoris, for example, that is thin and flat. And this one is going to move more up and down and to the surface and deep. So all of those structures going to create different biomechanical reactions and shape changes. All of those shape changes and movements that are happening inside of our body, in my opinion, need to be more understood and more explained for us to be able to truly understand human biomechanics. Zoga is an exploration of our body to release into a freedom of movement and balance. And we are achieving this through manual interventions and through a movement exploration. So in a class situation, I can lead someone through a sequence of movements where they're going to challenge and check all of the variations and possibilities for the area that we are exploring to move freely in all planes, all combinations of global and local tension, all directions of movement that we can exert in this area of the body. And through this exploration, we are finding areas that are less mobile, less glidey, a little bit more adhered. And when we explore this and we free up those structures, we can bring more balance into this system in gravity. So it can be done on the mat, it can be done in a group, it can be done only if you are only a movement therapist and you are not certified to touch. You can do some touch cueing when you are just guiding the body into the area that is dark to the nervous system of your client. So that's the first layer of intervention. So only exploring the movement by a client, but also guiding that movement. And then you can also add manual interventions where you address soft tissues, joints, neurovascular bundles, organs, bones, and all of the structures that create our anatomy to help that client to find more freedom in their movement. So in the therapeutic process, we always start with general global assessment. So we are looking at someone from all directions. We are looking if they have some tilts in different segments of their body, shifts, which is translation of one segment to another segment, rotations. But we also pay attention to shape of adipose tissue, movement of adipose tissue around the muscles and around the bones. We are looking also up at their individual shape and DNA that they had. So we are looking what individual shape they have that they have from their family DNA. But also we are looking at the bony deformations, because many times in life we have distortions in the bones that are coming out from breaks, but also from swollen bones. When we fall, when we hit different places, we not always break bones, but we change their shape, which then influences our movement and attachment of muscles and their tone because of that change. So after we do this assessment, we are assessing a body in global movement. So in a movement like you see on the screen, I'm gonna observe bony landmarks like how the lateral malleoli relates to the lateral side of fifth metatarsal, or how the head of the fibula is reacting in relationship to the lateral condyle of the femur, how the top of the ilium is moving in relationship to a greater trochanter, how the 11th rib is moving away from the top of the ilium, how all of the rib rings are moving away from each other when I do this movement. And then I can ask my client to laterally rotate and see how these segments are moving back in this lateral rotation movement, or how when I'm going to ask them to internally rotate, I can assess all of those rib segments, how they move in the other direction. We can go to a next slide. When we check the global movement, we are also folding a client. So we are turning off the global tension, and we are assessing how the local stabilizers are moving around the joints and bones, and how they are interacting with neurovascular bundles, how they interact in more local tension situations. And in these local movements, we can also play with different vectors. So even though I'm assessing sagittal plane, I can assess sagittal plane combined with adduction or adduction, or with internal or external rotation, because I still gonna assess sagittal plane, which is going to be my biggest movement for assessment. But I want to see how that sagittal plane reacts when I add on top of that sagittal plane, when I add some adduction, or when I add some other plane movement, because then I know if this sagittal plane is restricted from the flexo-adductors, flexo-abductors, or pure flexors, or superficial flexors, or deep flexors. So I can play with those slight vector changes of movement, and then see where this gliding ability has been reduced, and how I can help those clients through movement and manual interventions to bring that gliding back into those areas. And when I work with someone who wants to be really fully animal-like, fully free in their body, I also want to assess the body in different relationships to gravity, not only when my feet are low and my head is up, but also in the inverted position where the gravity acts on our body in a slightly different relationship. When I do all of those things and I follow this protocol, I can use Zoga in many different strategies for many applications. We through last few years, we have already applied Zoga to many modalities. First two that are the main certification like programs is Zoga movement therapy and Zoga movement practice. The therapy is combination of movement and touch, and the Zoga movement practice is for movement specialists who are not licensed to touch. So those two are the major pathways of education, but we have also created Zoga face integration, which is manual work on the face, neck, and head area that makes the face more symmetric, more expressive, and more mobile, which is helping to reduce wrinkles and other things as a side effect. We have applied this work to pediatric work. We work a lot with kids with cerebral palsy. I applied this work also on newborns. I work a lot with newborn babies, especially on their craniums. If their craniums have aberrated shapes, we work on those craniums to make them more symmetric and proportional and round. And also we have applied Zoga to pediatry, to foot specialist work. Next year we are starting in cooperation with big orthodontic school, and we're going to apply this concepts to orthodontic specialists and TMJ specialists. And we already cooperate with multiple orthodontic doctors here in Poland and combine manual work and movement work with orthodontic work. And we have some other classes for Zoga for postural disorders and more to come, because it's very vibrant, and many people are coming and applying these ideas and concepts to many different modalities in medicine and sport.